Okay, Master of Self-Realization by Shri Sadguru Siddharameshwar Maharaj. Page 68. When you come and go, speak or swallow, when you give or take, stand or sit, do any action at home or outside, or are in bed enjoying sex, leave off all sense of shame or doership, and think only of God. It is the one knowledge alone is playing at each point. To contemplate on this means contemplating on God. The body of consciousness has to be turned into self-consciousness. The decision that the self alone is doing all is itself the state of liberation. This is the advice given by Samartha Ramdas. Even Saint Tukaram asked for this gift from God. May I never, never forget you. Likewise, we also must never forget the self. Then surely salvation is at your feet, as this rope in the form of the mind was twisted in the direction of body consciousness. It now has to be twisted in the opposite direction of self-consciousness. When the rope gets untwisted, the strings will be blown about in the wind, and there will be nothing left to call rope. When a screw is screwed in, it has to be turned in the opposite direction to come out. Similarly, with regard to body consciousness, if the mind which is guided by the intellect is directed toward the self, it becomes absorbed in the self. As the mind is directed towards the one God, Lord Rama, it gets absorbed in Rama. The mind itself becomes Rama, and there is nothing left in the form of the mind, inside or out, or anywhere, and it becomes one with the form of Rama. Take this advice, and you will see this for yourself. To better understand just how the one pure knowledge is playing out, you have only to come out of the house and look at the moon. With what speed does the pure consciousness rush towards the moon, out from the window of your mind? See how it pervades the whole sky in a fraction of a second. Try this. Does the mind have this much speed? The mind received the speed of awareness of the moon only through the help of this knowledge, wherever the mind goes. Consciousness is already there. What a wonder it is, then, that the movement of the mind seems stuck in this consciousness. You only have to open the eyelids, and the knowledge consciousness simultaneously pervades the entire sky. The vastness that contains the multitude of stars and the moon, instead of saying that it pervades, it is better to say that it has already pervaded the whole, which is now experienced. When consciousness travels from the eye to the moon, and one recognizes it to be the moon, this is the object of knowledge. In this example, the moon is the object, and the consciousness takes its shape immediately upon knowing that it is the moon. If there is a cloud in front of the moon, the consciousness takes the shape of the cloud and is viewed as that object. Thus, consciousness pervades the cloud and knows the cloud to be an object. Chapter 6. Maya and Brahman. Now, try to notice the crust of consciousness that is without an object, the pure knowledge, without the mixture of any objects. That space, which is lying between the eye and the moon, had not come to your notice, yet still it was there, pervading, existing in its own nature. That is the pure form of knowledge, when empty space that is not noticed previously is purposefully made an object of attention. It becomes the object of attention as space. What can be noticed is Maya, and whatever cannot be seen is Brahman. While looking at the moon, the space in between did not come to your attention. Therefore, it is consciousness without an object. If this space is separated and is made an object of sight, this pure knowledge is transformed into a zero. Because if space is seen separately, the modification of the mind becomes a void. If there is any difference between space and pure knowledge, it is this. To separately look at one's own nature is space, and when the looking is abandoned, it is pure knowledge. Once pure knowledge is recognized properly in this manner, even when mixed with any object, it can be selected and recognized. One pure water is known, even when it is mixed with something else. Its existence can be recognized within that mixture. Water is a fluid that can become condensed into ice. Even when water gives up its fluidity and assumes the density of ice, it is still recognized as water in the form of ice. It is not difficult to recognize the wetness in the mud as water. Similarly, once pure knowledge is known, its steady existence in the moving world in the form of Sat Chit Ananda, being, consciousness, and bliss, can also be recognized. Pure water is devoid of any color, form, taste, or smell. Once this is properly understood, even when water is condensed to assume a dense form, or take on a hot flavor by adding chilies, or a sweet flavor by adding sugar, or if it is to become fragrant or taken on a color such as a rose, or is used as water in paint, it is quite unmistakably still recognized as pure water, or water minus the form, the taste, the smell, and the color. Thus, by the same method of elimination, even when this pure knowledge is conditioned, by subtracting the conditioning and by dividing the form into respective elements, it will be recognized as absolutely pure knowledge alone that fills all form everywhere to the brim. However, before attaining this pure knowledge by the method of elimination, if someone accepts the method of enumeration, listing the qualities of God, and goes on chattering about how God alone pervades all beings and all forms, and that there is nothing else but Rama, and that the world and the Lord of the world are but one, etc., etc., then such babble can never be useful. In contrast to this type of chatter, if one speaks only empty words without having the experience behind them, such as I am Brahman, or the senses do their job, yet I am not the doer, or there is no sin or virtue at my doorstep, etc., instead of gaining the self, he will only deceive the self. In this way, these so-called self-discoveries lose the joy of this world, as well as that of the other world. Saint Kabir said, "He went away as he came." This means that these people die in the same state of consciousness as that in which they were born. They get no benefit from life other than this. Such worldly scholars take words to be true self-knowledge. But has that truth which is beyond speech ever dawned on an ignorant man? Anyone can say, the senses do the work of the senses, but I am not the senses, or the mind's qualities are with the mind, and body's qualities are with the body. But what have I to do with them? I am different from these. What is untrue about these utterances? Who is it that understands the truth? Who is it that has the experience of truth? Only the one who knows who he is. Of what use are such statements to another? Each one enjoys his own pleasures and bliss. Tukaram said, each one for himself. Even a parrot can be taught to repeatedly say the words, Brahman is truth, the world is only an appearance. However, one cannot say that the parrot has understood the truth of what Brahman is, or what the world is, or even what a statement of truth is. Where there is no understanding, there cannot be the bliss of self-knowledge. Let that be as it is. However, an aspirant should not follow the example of one who is an expert with words, yet is a hypocrite. With persistent study and by applying the method of elimination, one must first come to know what pure knowledge is. Knowledge is of different types, such as general, particular, objective, knowledge of imagination and doubts, and the knowledge that is without any thought. The particular, objective, imagining, and doubting types of knowledge are contradictory to pure knowledge. When the pure consciousness, through process of sight, takes the shape of an object, one gets objective knowledge, or knowledge which can be of a particular type, or an imagination type, or of a doubt type of knowledge. If the objective is gross, it is objective knowledge. If it is only an idea that is subtle, it is idea knowledge, or savikalpa. This means that when pure knowledge takes the shape of an object, an idea or a thought, it then becomes categorized as particular knowledge. Particular knowledge, being artificial, is by nature transient and lasts only for a few short periods of time. It is inherently transient and of an unsteady nature. However, the rule is that particular knowledge must return back into general knowledge, the knowledge that I am. As an example, when we walk, this is considered the common or general speed. And when we increase the speed and start running, it's because a particular speed. Yet, how long can we run? After some time the running stops, and soon one assumes the natural speed again. Similar to this, we are naturally very loving and blissful within, and this love within oneself is the general type of love common to all. However, when love is for a son, a friend, or a house, etc., it is an objective and particular kind of love. Thus, a love that comes must also go. The love that comes is of a particular kind which is transient and destructible. The happiness that one gets from objects also falls into the category of being of a particular kind of happiness, which only lasts for a very short period of time. A small thing brings in an experience of particular type, but while our attention is focused on that, the one thing that pervades, it cannot be experienced. The reason is that the pervading thing is big and infinite, and in reality we are the same, all-pervading Brahman. The particular thing is Maya, and the general or common thing is Brahman, and we are that. When we are focused on the experience of a particular type, we do not experience the love of our own self, nor do we enjoy the happiness of the bliss of the self. We will now observe what is called general knowledge, which is devoid of an object or an idea. There is a slight distance between an outside gross object and the I, or the mind. That void or space, although unknowingly observed, is as if it were not seen, and therefore we have no knowledge or acknowledgement of that space. This intervening knowledge, the space being knowledge itself, cannot become the object of its own knowledge. How can sugar taste its own sweetness? In the same way, knowledge does not experience itself as an object. This knowledge is naturally spread out between the I and the object, as well as between the intellect and an idea or thought. One should repeatedly take notice of how the general pure knowledge naturally pervades everywhere before it acknowledges or recognizes an object. This noticing or seeing is not the same as seeing an object, such as I am the seer of an object, or I am the thinker of an idea. It is only seen when one gives up both the seeing as well as the thought that I am the seer. The instrument of seeing is the I, and the instrument of knowing a thought is the intellect. Knowledge itself can only be seen by setting aside both of these instruments. The instruments of sight and the intellect are of no value here. Any attempt to know pure knowledge by means of the I or intellect is to forget that pure knowledge, the unadulterated sense of I am, by allowing these instruments to step in. To know pure knowledge really means not to know it, and once known in this way, the knower himself becomes pure knowledge. Samartha Ramdas has said, in trying to meet pure knowledge, one becomes separated from it, but there is always union with it without trying to meet it. This puzzle is very difficult. Wise men, yogis, and renunciates make a mistake and misinterpret the seen as the seer when saying, Para-Atman is like this. He has 4 hands. He is like the light of 1,000,000 suns. He is lustrous. He is dark, complexioned. He is like a point. And he is like this, and he is like that, etc. They say whatever they like, but by whose knowledge is it that it is stated that this one is like this, and the other is like that? That one is forgotten completely while they talk of the great things of realization. However, when the seer is forgotten, whatever is seen is I, which is Brahman. One does not know what to say of this. The brave one sets out to find Brahman, but the obstacle in the form of the seen gets in his way. This is the state of the majority of seekers. Search for the lost I. In a crowd during a pilgrimage, I lost myself and could not find myself even when I tried searching within. Then I went to the police station and gave them the information that I was lost. At that time, a constable came and slapped my cheeks hard until they were red and asked me, "Who is this fellow?" Only then did I become conscious of myself and was very happy that I was found. This is the very condition of the one that is himself Brahman and yet is in search of Brahman. Where and how can he find himself? His exact position is such that he is the one who knows everyone, but is not known by anyone. The one who tries to know him does not know that his own true nature is pure consciousness. So, he wanders about in the forest and jungle, searching for that which has never been lost. How amazing this is! How can he, the one who is known only after the capacity of knowing has been transcended, be known? Unless one becomes steady within oneself, leaving behind, having the desire to know, one cannot have the knowledge of Brahman. So I'll stop there for today. Page 74. Thanks everybody. See you later. Adios.